Okay, let's talk about these three words that are often used to gaslight women into being treated less than, being treated harshly, being disrespected on one hand, and then given this backhanded compliment on the other for how well you take the punch of that disrespect. And those three words are humble, strong, and resilient. Ooh. Now, taken at face value, those are all perfectly wonderful qualities to have. To be humble, to be strong, and to be resilient. Some of you already smell what I'm cooking before I even say a word. But for those who are not grasping the subtext of those words and how those specific words are often used as a cudgel to condition women to accept poor treatment, I'll break it down for you. So, humble in its humility as a virtue at face value means knowing that on one hand you are a special child of God, for those who believe, and I am a believer. That on that level, on that cosmic, universal level, you are special. But in the day-to-day experience of navigating life and being in a long line at the grocery store or being stuck in traffic and, you choose to cut that line, or you choose to make shortcuts, you choose to cheat. Those behaviors stem from some belief that you are special, that you deserve to be at the front of the line to the detriment of other people who got there before you, to use that example. So that's an example of a lack of humility. Or a pop star who has a gift, a really beautiful voice, and a lot of their fans believe that because they have this talent, that they are somehow ordained by God, they deserve to be put on a particular pedestal, and then that singer lets it go to his head, or lets it go to her head. That singer starts to think that it really is about him, and that he does have some specialness about him that ensures, or entitles, that's the word I'm looking for, entitles him to be treated better than anybody else who doesn't have his voice. That is a lack of humility. The pop star who's able to not buy into one's own hype and really keep it focused on the message and the music itself, that's an example of humility in the most virtuous sense of that term. Now, the way humility is used as a cudgel against confident women, however, any woman who dares to speak out of turn, and this can be true for men as well, particularly men who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Like if they, level up to a higher socioeconomic environment where, the other people who may have, grown up in wealth while he's new money, they may expect him to be humble in that other sense of like being meek and self-effacing, and just grateful to be in the room, as if their skills and talent and hard work didn't earn them the right to be there. So there's that kind of way of framing humility. Now, specifically with women, the kind of behavior that is marked as confidence when expressed through the embodiment of a man is often marked as conceited or arrogant, or she thinks she all that, that whole energy. And we don't want that. We don't want to be the tall poppy. We're socialized first of all to think in terms of there being tall poppies that are somehow a threat to short poppies, as if each person, as if each poppy doesn't have their own qualities that make them who they are and make them incomparable to any of the other poppies. This notion of it's a tall poppy that gets cut, it's the tall tree that gets cut, and that's a primal fear that women are about to say a primal fear that women are socialized to have, but primal kind of goes beyond socialization. Primal is like this deeply ingrained feminine archetypal wound of we're physically vulnerable, and as particularly social beings, we're socially vulnerable. We're vulnerable to ostracism. We're vulnerable to exile. And so, don't stick your neck out too far. Don't be the tall poppy. Tall poppy, hey. You could be a tall poppy, but don't be a tall mommy. That's the fear that a lot of us carry, and the fear that a lot of us seek to overcome in owning our power. Speaking of power, that brings us to the next word, strong. So I prefer the word powerful, and for me the distinction between strong and powerful, strong is closely related to resilience, like how well can you take a punch and keep on moving, how many failures can you endure, how much trauma and suffering can you endure and still wake up in the morning motivated and inspired to make things happen in your life. That's what I think of when I think of strength. And it's certainly an important quality to have, but at the same time, I don't think that I would prefer to live in a world where everybody truly receives the amount of shoes dropping that is actually manageable. Because a lot of folks out here are experiencing the feeling, the sensation of shoes dropping every other moment. Just constant crisis mode, constant survival mode, constant stress. And we're not designed for that kind of constant stress, constant freeze, flight, fun, and whatever the fourth one is, fight. we're not designed to be in any of those defense modes all the time, or even 90% of the time. And so when your strength is being used to constantly stave off the wolves, that depletes your life force quickly. So when I think of the distinction between strength and power, I think of strength as literally reactionary, you're constantly reacting to whatever crisis, whatever curveball. The curveballs are your normal for the kind of person who had to grow up to be strong and resilient in that context, constantly dodging the balls made out of titanium, and so it used to irk me when people who, seemingly from a genuine place, would compliment me by calling me strong or humble or resilient. And what's interesting is Ever since I have deliberately stepped into my power and really embody my power, like really feeling the sensation of power, walking in the frequency of power, I haven't had anybody call me strong or resilient or humble. Now, whether behind my back anybody calls me conceited or she thinks she all that, maybe, maybe not. That's not my business. But really feeling into that distinction for myself, that distinction between strength and power, strength being reactionary, power being creationary, power being creative, recognizing my power to create, recognizing that I am ultimately the arbiter of my own life. Now, yes, are there things that are beyond my control? Yes. But are there things within my control? Absolutely. Are there a lot of things within my control? Absolutely. Does it make sense for me to focus on those things that I can control? Absolutely. Does it make any sense for me to focus on the things I cannot control? Absolutely not. And so, if you're someone who is in a season of your life as a woman where you notice people constantly calling you strong or humble or resilient, I invite you into an embodiment experiment. And this embodiment experiment, think of 3 other words that represent how you would like to experience yourself. Like, what is the frequency in which you want to experience your own energy, your own emotional temperature? So you know how we can feel the entire range of emotions, and different emotions can be like the weather. One day it's sunny, one day it's cloudy, and then we have like the climate, which is kind of the general temperature range, the general parameters where your emotions tend to live. What is your temperature? And is it a temperature that you have deliberately and consciously chosen and created? And if not, that's fine. Welcome to 95% of humanity. I invite you to step into a greater level of consciousness of your own power, the power that you wield. So choose 3 qualities that you would like to wield in your daily life. For example, joy, the power to express your joy, the power to assert your needs, to get your needs met. What would you call that as a quality? Assertive. I guess assertive would be the word to describe that quality, or confident, or even demanding. Maybe that would be an edge for you. Maybe it would actually land for you as a compliment to have somebody snarkily say to you like, "Oh, you are so demanding." You'd be like, "Thank you. I've been working on that." So choose 3 qualities and practice embodying those qualities. Now, don't tell anyone. Just be those things. Like, how would a joyful person respond to this particular situation? How would a joyful person wake up in the morning? What kind of rituals would a joyful person have? So just do that for each of the 3. You can do one at a time, or if you have a divergent mind like me, you can play with all 3. And just do that for like a month. And as you're doing it, notice when people use those words or very similar words to describe you. So, for example, if the quality you're working on is being assertive, notice when people say like, "Oh, there's something different about you. You seem so confident. You seem so assertive. You seem so aggressive." Any synonyms, any words that are similar in frequency to the key word that you have in your mind. So this is sort of like a spiritual SEO, an embodiment SEO. Practice embodying the qualities of these 3 key words that only exist in your own mind, and just notice when other people start to notice. your embodiment of those qualities. So that being said, I am curious as to what qualities come to mind in you watching this video and experiencing my energy right now. I'm doing the experiment myself. So let me know what words come to your mind to describe my energy, my vibe. And on that note, I'll see you later. Bye.